All right. We're going to call the Town City Council regular meeting of July 1st, 2026 to order at 6:57. Roll call, please.
Councilor Pulling. Here. Councilor Panemarov.
Here.
Councilor Medina is absent. Councilor Greider.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Parra-Miller.
Here.
And Mayor Airsplit.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Hector. Additions or corrections to the agenda are in council recusal. Are there recusals, anybody? Hearing none. Any additions, corrections? Alex?
Mayor, members of the council, staff would request the inclusion of fiscal year 2026-27 property and liability insurance. You have a staff report in front of you. I'm very happy to do it consent or give you all some highlights, but this is the annual renewal of our insurance that should go before you as it exceeds my purchasing authority.
Since it's a pretty simple report, let's go ahead and put it on and fire now to get a chance to report out on it.
Great.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Next item on the agenda is recognitions, proclamations, and community announcement. Anybody on the council? Yeah.
Thank you. A few community announcements. A reminder that election packets are available with the deadline to file of August 11th for incumbents and August 17th for all others. We have several additions that we have no interest in as yet, although I'm sure we will have some, but just want to continue to plug that. The consumer confidence report on water quality was mailed and emailed recently, so folks should be seeing that. And if they have any questions, there's contact information for the city to ask questions if you've got any concerns or questions. On July 14th in this building, we've invited the residents along Gangness Drive to come and have a conversation with staff about proposed street cross sections for the pier project. And then on July 22nd, we are planning a open house and public feedback opportunity regarding the public safety surcharge increase proposed. That's what I have.
Very good. And once again, Alex, thank you so much for this administration for your community engagement.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, moving on to public testimony. Are there any online speaker requests?
There are no online speaker requests,
Right.
only one.
I'd like to call Mike Oxendine to the podium, please, or the lectern rather, and state your name and your city for the record.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. My name is Mike Oxendine. I've lived in Talent for more than 20 years. I live on 2nd Street. And I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to come speak to you guys tonight. I sent an email that's not part of the public record and kind of did that on purpose. But I just wanted to say that when I was in college at SOU locally, I did my final paper capstone project on visual first impressions and how visual first impressions lead the people to believe what they see on the outside reflects what they get on the inside. So what the campus community looks like, what our entrances to town look like, what our landscaping looks like. If it doesn't look well kept, it looks out of order. If something looks amiss about it, if the streets aren't freshly paved or lined, people start to assume that that reflects the inside of the organization as well and our community as a whole. I spent a few hours yesterday driving around Talent. It's been kind of grinding on me for the last few months, seeing the weeds and seeing the Gateway project fall farther and farther into disrepair. It looks like a fire hazard right now. There's fences that are falling down. There are trash cans that are overflowing in our communities at every park. I have a 4-year-old. We take Nolan to Phoenix to go to Culver Park in Blue Heron Park because we won't let them use the restrooms here alone because we don't trust that they're clean and that they are appropriately serviced every day. So I'm seeing this pattern of deferred maintenance, and I want to come up with solutions. I want to be part of the solution for helping deal with it. Obviously, it's an overwhelming time right now, and there are a lot of things that I don't know about staff capacity, about budgets, about budget shortfalls. But I do know that what I see, I can help with. This is what I do for a living. I've done it for 20 years, landscape management and maintenance. We have the best volunteer crew and talent. Like, people really care about this community. They will come out and plant thousands of trees. They will weed. They will do the butterfly gardens and the pollinator gardens. They just need some support. And what I'm here to offer is I'd like to be a volunteer coordinator for the city. I'd like to do some work parties, but what I want from the city is support. I want funding support for materials. I want funding support for hauling off debris. I want support for having us help clean the bathrooms and empty trash cans and replace the dog do bags. And if we can do that, if we can work and partner together, I think there's enough volunteers that care deeply about this community like myself that can come together and start making a dent in some of the deferred maintenance. And I'm happy to run a weed eater out on the boulevards and wear a high-vis vest and do whatever we need to do for volunteer safety and signing waivers, whatever that looks like. I want to say that I have had the best times working for the community and talent, and with the Urban Forestry Committee in particular. The Parks Committee is awesome. The event that was just here, the talent show is amazing. The Harvest Festival is amazing. We have so many cool things going for our community. We need to make it reflect on the outside what the spirit is on the inside. And that's really all I wanted to address tonight. And that's my offer, and my ask is that take myself and other volunteers up on this offer to provide these services. And we're not asking to get paid to do it. Volunteer effort. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I want to share with you a little unfortunate news. And that is we did do some research on the couple police funding opportunities, and the current COPS grant is expressly tied to cooperating with DHS and ICE. So I don't think the city would be likely to pursue that. But I did want to assure you that we're going to continue to look for other opportunities, but I don't think the federal government is the right one right now. On more positive news on the grant front, we did secure another $20,000 grant for historic town hall work. That's through Preserving Oregon Parks and Rec. That request was particularly for security and access. We were applying for to improve the stairs, replace the stairs, and add a fire alarm. On the fire front, we think that we're actually going to request for a slight revision, and we think addressing the insulation and the wiring in the attic that we've uncovered recently is actually the higher priority from a fire perspective. But either way, that money will be put to great use at Historic Town Hall. You have, I'm sure, noticed that the work's been paused. That was in order to we did not initially identify how much rot there was in the crown molding. So we have had to source crown molding to match the existing crown molding and get a new contractor who is qualified to install that. But that'll recommence on the week of July 15th. Did want to share, many of you were there. Thank you for joining. On June 23rd, Rogue Community Health had their grand opening celebration at 49 Talent Avenue. I had a moment of doubt about that. But it is a really nice event. Rogue Community Health and their customers and the docs were all out, and it's neat to hear that they've already identified one additional provider who's going to be based there. Yeah, I thought it was a neat event, and we are closing in on the very last little pieces of work that need to be completed there. We our national flood insurance recertification under the community rating system got put on pause last fall, but that has been unpaused, and we got the good news that our initial report that the contractor is pretty confident that would be accepted by FEMA does take the city down one risk category. That will mean a slight reduction in the next round of flood insurance rates for folks, homeowners and businesses in the community.
That's a big deal. Thank you.
Can I-
it-
Can I just make
Yeah.
that?
Counselor.
It is, I just want to say, Alex, it really is a big deal, and I hope that gets some play on the website, one of those flashy things, because well done.
Great, thank you. I will note that there was a lot of people involved. Nikki from Green Top, City of Medford staff assisted under an IGA with them. Hector Rocha stepped in and helped keep the project moving when we had some transition in the planning department. So there a lot of hands got it over the line. And then just to give you an update on the TAP project, the Talent Ashland Phoenix waterline project, that is nearing completion. And the Ashland has been using that system and pulling water from Medford Water, and which is welcome and will be needed this water year. In addition, the team has identified that there is some not every dollar is needed for the core project. They've agreed to replace one of our pumps with some of those funds. And we're also going to pursue the possibility of getting reimbursed for the master meter that we replaced recently. But that work's going well, and it's an important addition to our regional infrastructure. With that, I will pause and see if there are questions.
Counselor Coley and then Counselor Penamara.
Thank you, Alex. That was a lot of really awesome stuff. I just want to say I saw the social media post about the Old Town Hall roof replacement. I thought that was awesome and really helpful, because I'm sure everyone else driving by is wondering, wait, they ripped the roof off. What's going on? So kudos to whoever made that. You jogged my memory on the master meter, and it's fine if you don't know right now, but maybe you could come back to us on what the findings were with that, because I know there was a discussion of maybe there was a discrepancy, or maybe we also had a discussion about overpaying for water rights. So maybe there's some more water discussion, timely water discussion to be had.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we need at least a few months of data to compare to understand what was going on there, but absolutely we'll be back.
And then my one other question, and kudos to, I was at the Rogue Community Health opening. That's an amazing facility. We're really lucky to have that in this town. So thank you to everybody who worked on that. And it was cool to see hundreds of people there and everyone celebrating. I had a question on the building and our agreement there, because I know that the city owns the building, but who's responsible for, is RCH responsible for all the maintenance, landscape maintenance, just the building maintenance? Like, who's responsible?
Yeah,
And going forward, what's the
Correct.
agreement there?
They're responsible for everything except for like major system replacements. So like HVAC or the roof, but everything else on that property is their responsibility.
Thank you.
Counselor Penamara.
Thanks. Yes, thanks for all the good news. With regard to the TAP, and it sounds like there's going to be some possible reimbursement savings on the water fund. That's confined to the water fund in the budget, the enterprise fund, is that correct? And it's not money that could be used in the general fund.
That is correct.
Okay. And then also I was wondering about the pump station. Is it possible to I'm wondering about how it's being powered, and I'm wondering for opportunities to have solar panels or some sort of battery, or maybe in that process, if there's a way to either grant funded or not, to make something make it more green energy oriented and resilient. Because it uses quite a bit of energy, if I recall.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And, yeah, we'll
If
look-
that's something that's convenient to look at
Yeah.
while that's happening, that would be great.
absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. And I do have Councilor Brandon. All right, you first, Councilor Brandon.
I get to ask the question because I'm new. I was curious about the planning commission's minutes all coming through since January. I just, about the context, I was curious about that, and then the January council minutes.
So that, I think the January council minutes, we had a revision that we needed to make, and and they're coming back for a second time. And on the planning commission minutes, I'll let Rick address that.
Lack of keeping up with the learning curve from one city to another. I don't have any excuse other than that, so my apologies.
Well, I got to look at them all. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Coley?
I just had like a singular question about 6.7, the authorization to surplus vehicles. Does that mean that we need to pull it out, or could I just? Okay, perfect. Yeah, can we pull that out?
Just for brief discussion. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, any questions? About
Are we-
6.7?
Are we discussing it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, my question, thanks for the detailed report on that. And if I remember, I have to scroll down to look at it real quick. My question was, where's the city at as far as, do we still look for used vehicles or vehicles from other communities, or are we pretty much in a new purchase mindset? And I'm not asking that with any judgment. I'm just curious, like, if that makes fiscal sense, I'm fine with it, but that's just my question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that is, my working assumption that, my understanding is that we have, in the past, made do with some sort of hand-me-down, equipment, particularly the police department, I think for a number of years was doing that. The switch was honestly prior to my time, so I haven't dove deeply into the repair costs and the records for what that the cost analysis there. So that's a working assumption I inherited, and I'd be happy to take a look at it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I was going to bring up something similar. It is true that we very often got used vehicles, and not all of them were what I would describe as a hand-me-down. Some of them had low mileage on and were very serviceable vehicles at great savings to the city. And for a city of 6,500, it was a pretty realistic approach to our fleet management. And then ultimately we've ended up with, and I'm still hoping for this. We did a fleet purchase plan maybe 2 or 3 years ago that just identified the areas where we need to purchase sooner rather than later. And I think we got most of the urgent stuff out of the way, but one of the things I've asked for over the years is, as part of that fleet management plan, that we also have some information on what the right size of our fleet would be. And to give you some context about that, one of the things that's happened over the years is we've actually held on to a lot of older vehicles that we're not actually using. And then they were identified as vehicles that needed to be replaced. And so we grew the size of our fleet based on that. And, my memory is based on, years past. But I think it's important for us to understand what our fleet needs actually are, rather than just identify every vehicle that we have for replacement. Because again, we retain, especially in the police department, and Chief has reported on this a couple times, we retained a few of them, few extra vehicles, rather than surplusing them for the purpose of, I think, backup vehicles or something like that. She's reported out on that before. My questions are, I just want to verify that the purchase of replacement for this F-350 is on our transportation fleet management plan. And B, that we at some point in time get some sort of overview of what our fleet what the right size fleet for a city of 6,500 should actually be.
Sure. So yes, it was identified in the fleet plan that we have. I'm blanking on exactly the right name, but and budgeted this year because it was in that fleet plan.
That's why you budgeted this year, because it was in the fleet plan. Very good. Okay. I'm happy to put that request in the queue. I realize that you guys have a lot of stuff to report out on, but it would be great to get that information for the next purchase. So, Councilor Collet?
Yeah, along the lines of, cost savings, and asking about purchasing of, and when I mean used vehicle, I agree with what the mayor was saying, lightly used vehicles, from a neighboring city that are a couple years old or something like that. That's what I'm thinking of, not older vehicles that would need a lot of maintenance. But the other thing I would advocate the city continuing to look into, and I don't know if it's the right climate right now, funding wise, but grants for not alternative energy vehicles, efficient energy vehicles, electric vehicles. I'm assuming the Mavericks are hybrids because I think those are all hybrid now. But we have a small city. Any vehicle that's in this fleet's not driving more than 20, 50 miles a day. It's the perfect opportunity for an EV. So if that opportunity arises, if there's grants again for that kind of stuff, I would encourage us to look at that as fuel prices skyrocket.
Right on.
Councilor Panama?
Can I just add to that? I think that should be a regular part of our criteria for when we look for vehicles, if at all possible. Go clean. I think we do, actually.
Yeah.
I've seen it before, but sometimes it falls off. Cherry card.
Do you want to look at it? Do you want to just get another look at the transportation thing?
I don't think it's in the transportation. I
I
mean,
mean,
my clean energy
yeah,
element may have something.
Fleet management. Isn't it in the management plan?
I don't.
I thought there was some language about that. Anyway, okay.
I think it's just word to the wise to staff if we could continue to make that a priority. That's sufficient for me. I don't need to look at it.
Sounds good. Anything else? All right. So we will be considering for approval items 6.1 through 6.7. I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Perry Miller?
I have a question first. So this agenda item actually has its own motion. Should we deal with it separately?
Does it have a motion?
Yeah,
Well, they all do.
it's on page
Oh,
31.
The consent calendar has a motion, but, oh, yeah. So we will do it separately. Thank you for pointing that out. So I'll entertain a motion for
Sorry.
consent calendar number 6.1
Point
through.
of order.
Councilor-
I think, I just want to say, just on the process, I think sometimes several of the things in the consent calendar have their own motions. Unless they're minutes.
I don't think they should.
So I'll entertain a motion for 6.1 through 6.6. Councilor Perry Miller?
I move to approve the consent calendar items 6.1 through 6.6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent calendar 6.1 through 6.6. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilor Collet,
Yes.
Councilor Penemroff,
Yes.
Councilor Greider,
Yeah.
Councilor Martin,
Yes.
Council Prime Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you. Real quick on that point, if this is approved in the budget and approved as part of as part of the fleet management plan, you're bringing it before us because it's over $25,000, is that correct?
Over 50, correct.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion on 6.7. Council Collet?
I have a motion, but I just have a quick point to what Councilor Penamara was mentioning. I was able to pull up the fleet replacement plan that we had looked at a couple years ago, and there is just a line on page 8 in a very quick reading of this that says fuel efficiency is important. Hybrid or EV vehicles will be considered. It doesn't. Maybe there's other policy language somewhere else, but that's what's in that plan from a very quick reading, just so you know.
Yeah, will be considered. Seems kind of light.
Agreed.
I think we'll have to strengthen that up at some point in time. 6 point, entertaining your motion, Councilor Collet.
I move to authorize staff to surplus the city's 2004 Chevrolet Silverado and 2008 Ford F-350 and to purchase a replacement Ford F-350 for up to $69,000.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to authorize staff to surplus the city's 2004 Chevrolet Silverado and 2008 Ford F-350, and to purchase a replacement Ford F-350 for up to $69,000. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Council Coley,
Yes.
Councilor Penamara.
yes.
Councilor Greider,
Yes.
Councilor Martin,
Yes.
Councilor Prime Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you, Hector. I just want to ask one more question. Didn't we just buy an F-450? And I think we did like 2 years ago. Is there a vast difference between those two vehicles where we would need to have a 350 and a 450?
So typically, the way our public works crew members often work individually. So each of the crew does have a dedicated vehicle.
And they're all 350s?
They're not all 350s. This was selected as a 350 because it's going to be Isaiah's primary vehicle, and he's handling our primary water lead on the water maintenance, and so he's carrying heavy valves and heavy equipment frequently.
And who drives the 450?
That I don't have the recollection of that purchase.
I think one of them has a dump bed on it, and this one, I'm still looking at the fleet list, and I know some of the vehicles are different, but I think one of them has a dump bed, and in this staff report, this one has a service body on it that has toolboxes and stuff, so different use case, but
Yeah.
don't quote me on that because I'm not the ones driving the truck.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. All right. It'd be really great for the new team. I see the report coming up, talking about a new day in Public Works to review not just right sizing our fleet, but the actual needs that our fleet have and the most efficient. It'd be interesting to look at that. I guess what I would say is less of a wish list and more of a needs base. I don't know that it is a wish list, but I think you get my point. Item number 8.2 is to discuss community development and public works restructure. Staff?
I
We
skip
skip
8.1.
8.1.
Did I?
think we may have, yes.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely don't want to skip that. I'm sorry. I just want to refine my point about let me just say it this way. Since you have inherited that vehicle fleet management plan, I would hope that after as we move forward, that we would take a really good look at that management plan, because I wasn't super confident the way it was developed in the first place. And I expressed that when it came before us. So, all right. 8.1, discuss city response to recent reports of ice activity in southern Jackson County. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is distracting me, so I'll just share it. I was here at the time that you all adopted that fleet policy. I think it had been under development for some time by Tessa, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't leave you with the impression that I wasn't here when you adopted it. And just for future reference, your city attorney didn't want to interrupt you, but it is appropriate for there to be motions in items on the consent agenda. The assumption, your action by approving the consent agenda is in effect making those motions and approving those motions if they appear on the consent calendar. The response to ICE activity. I wasn't able to meet with Niria. I did exchange a couple emails with her about the mayor's specific question. Which was, is there a large difference in value between the city participating in a meeting to reassure the community about our sanctuary policies versus leading and organizing such a meeting? Niria's response was that she felt like that would set a good example to other communities, and also asked if the city could support the organizing work to make it happen. The we tried to meet, we weren't able to meet. What I took from that is this meeting is probably not going to happen unless the city takes the lead on it. When I talked to Councilor Medina on Monday, and Councilor Medina talked to a couple other folks, we were of the same mind that really largely advertised public meeting is probably not the right approach to this. It could go wrong in a number of ways. She and I talked about, really the important thing was making sure that our communications are really strong and clear about what our policies are. I think we would certainly, I think as part of that outreach, reaching out to TME and maybe some other folks who might want to host members of the city in more informal environments where we could provide those reassurances without necessarily doing a lot of public advertising about it would probably be a better way to communicate. Hector was dealing with some family stuff today. I don't know if but we've got some social media posts queued up to both in English and Spanish, clarify our policy, link to the proclamation, and also provide access to the city's actual policing policy, so they could. If individuals are interested, they can read the detail of our policy. So staff's recommendation is that we focus on communication and make ourselves available, but not necessarily organize a public event.
Councilor Panamarev and then Councilor Martin.
Thanks. That sounds like wisdom to me. When we talk about being very clear about the city's policies, and I do like the idea of smaller meetings within communities, maybe a police officer or something, to give that reassurance, whatever the communities need, and answer those questions. Have you all talked about the idea of having some sort of signage that kind of shows how we feel? And as I think about that, I always think, well, I don't want to make Talon a target, right? But is there a way to message that around town in a way that our residents feel that those values that we have, that we're serious about being a sanctuary state, and that ICE is not welcome here? I don't know if there's a way to do that kind of visibly and capturing people's attention as they walk down the street. I know something like that would make me feel better, but I don't know if it would be a practical good or have bad consequences. So I'm just wondering if y'all ever talked about that, or if it's worth considering.
We hadn't discussed it. I think that'd be a great thing to talk to folks about if and when we are invited to have conversations. I think other than that, I would just say my initial response is I think we'd want to focus on the first part of that message rather than the second part of that message. I think we're better off emphasizing the positive message to our residents and explicitly calling out ICE, I think that could be counterproductive.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just get pretty angry about it.
Council Martin?
Thank you. I appreciate the city's awareness of this and wanting to be transparent and open about it, and considering all the different routes to address the public. I think people show up in a lot of different ways and spaces, so I like the idea of signage. I think social media is a great place. And I am going to make an assumption that one of the reasons why we wouldn't want to hold a public meeting would be safety factors of bringing people together in a physical space. I'm wondering if the city, if there's a policy or consideration for having an online meeting or like a Zoom only platform to, continue transparency between the city and the public and just find all the routes to reiterate Talent's commitment to keeping residents safe.
Yes, that was the concern. So yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for the discussion, Alex, and definitely making sure that the councilors have copies of the documents that we referred to, the recent resolution that was passed and the city police policies. I think it's a question. Councilor Congress.
Yeah, I think the council or the city manager received an email from Councilor Medina, and I'm not sure if she wanted it to be requested that it be read at the meeting, or just said it would be okay. I think that too.
Thank you, Counselor. I was just going to mention that. Yeah. Yes, Counselor Medina did send a message to me, which I forwarded to you all, and she welcomed it to be read. But I think the key message that I didn't yet share was that was in there was her emphasis on the importance of using very plain language when we are communicating, that we make sure that all the language we use is very, very approachable. And she did say that she thought that there were some other opportunities for sort of word of mouth kind of outreach that she was interested in sharing. I do also want to mention for the record that she was very sorry to not be here to participate in this discussion, but had something that was absolutely unavoidable.
Thank you.
Councilor Greider.
Yeah, I also just really appreciated the email that Councilman wrote, and really want to lean into her expertise there. And one of the other things that I noticed in that she mentioned a piece about community feeling comfortable calling on law enforcement. And so I wasn't sure, it looked almost like the post might be linked in your report, but I wasn't able to open it. So I'm not sure what the post or the information says in the communication to share, but for me, if I didn't know, what does it mean that we're a sanctuary entity, and like how does that actually tie into law enforcement, and if we need to call them in case of emergency. So you may have already touched on that in the discussion, but
Yeah,
that was important.
Yeah.
absolutely. So the link was to the proclamation itself,
Oh.
which does speak to that. But I think it's important that our sort of blurb and our shorter version is explicit about that too.
Right.
Thank you. And I've got Councilor Medina's email in front of me, and the other thing that I should mention in there was she made a plug for people to follow RV Migra Watch on Facebook, and there's also Migra_Watch_RV on Instagram if folks are interested in staying up to date on what is being reported.
Counselor Greider?
Also, just want to mention that I really, I think, I know we're all, being very cautious and I think we all really respect her, what she's, written in this email, but I do really, the point about not wanting to draw too much attention to the matter in the city, I think, is important to respect that and that can be a concern. So I agree with the not do the public event or meeting right at this time that but certainly sharing information and communicating it because what does it mean?
Great. Counselor Coley?
Yeah, I appreciate Councilor Medina's email and share her sentiments and thoughts. And I think that strategy is the correct strategy. I just want to say too, expressing frustration, you mentioned earlier, a grant potential funding that the city could apply for from the federal government and the fact that the federal government has is potentially tainting people's view of local law enforcement who are in our community and live in our community and people should be able to turn to for safety. Not just their inability to help fund it when we're struggling to fund those kind of things, but really also creating another problem where people are potentially losing trust when there are reasons, not to, and there's policies not to, but they're casting a negative eye on community policing, which I can't speak for everyone, but I really appreciate, and I appreciate how our chief approaches things and communicates with people. And I've seen the work that they do on the ground. So I really dislike that is happening from the federal level.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you, everybody, and thank you, staff, for just engaging on this. Also, thanks to Chief for walking the talk, and appreciate everybody. Makes us all really proud to be a part of this community. Item number 8.2 is discuss community development and public works restructure. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is, I believe, purely an informational item. You all adopt, as part of the budget, an FTE limit for the city, and this is not any request to change that, but it would be a change from the organizational chart that you've seen in that budget. So with the transition of Public Works Director, I think there's an opportunity to sort of maybe flatten the organization is not totally the right word, but I think there is the opportunity to have one person take on some more management responsibilities that would be a more efficient way to staff the city. And so Rick, with his background overseeing public works at City of Oak Ridge, has agreed to take that on for a trial period. That would improve I think the financial situation for both public works, but more importantly for the community development department within the general fund. There's not but that's really a side benefit to me of this move. The biggest benefit, I think, is one, I'm excited for Rick and his approach to be leading the Public Works Department just at a personal level, but also it'll allow us to really structure the planning side of the house a lot more efficiently. Currently, we've got enough work and funding to have sort of a 1.5 person planning shop. And we're making that work with contract services from RBCOG. That isn't the most efficient way to pay for it. So with Rick spending some time overseeing public works, we could do away with that RBCOG contract and have a full-time planner that I think would be really improve the function in the planning department. We will need to rely on some more professional engineering services. Rick is not a PE, but I think the city's functioned well for many years without a PE on staff, and a city of our size, I think that's appropriate. So some of the savings will definitely be eaten up by having to pay for a little more professional engineering services. But wanted to just keep you updated on what we're thinking about moving towards.
A couple questions. What's a PD, first of all?
Oh, sorry, professional engineer. Somebody's got a stamp,
PD?
PE.
Okay. My first thing that caught my eye in your staff report was that Rick has agreed to take on the dual title of Community Development and Public Works Director on an interim basis. What does that mean?
6 months, and as a trial period.
Can you expand on what trial period means?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just see that there's somebody in the waiting room. To make sure that it's a good fit for Rick, it's a good fit for us, that it works well.
Okay, that's, and so is this, I also see that we're gonna do this with some additional compensation for working out class, which I think everybody supports that. But is this a contract that's gonna happen? Like I want to know more about the HR piece of this.
Sure. So mechanically, I gave Rick a letter. Essentially, I use the format that we use when we make a job offer, and describe that it'd be a 6-month period, and what the workout of class compensation would be, and ask Rick to sign it.
And if it turns out that this is not the solution that that either Rick wants or the city wants, there's no issue with the job description going back to, do we have some input from our HR department about that?
Well, the job description is not being, that's why we chose this approach rather than changing the job description and changing the salary at this point, was to make it easier to undo if for some reason that it's not working.
That answers my question. And then, so if, and this is just a technical question, if if the city decides that this is the direction they want to go in, and Rick is amenable to that, would we be amending the budget, the organizational chart in the budget?
I don't believe that's necessary, no.
I'm confused by that, because we recently had a discussion where, previously we had a discussion where I was trying to find out the fact that the organizational chart is in the budget. Previous managers have said that was for informational purposes only. I said that previous managers have said it's part of the budget. And then recently you told me, you were right, Mayor, it is part of the budget. So if we're amending positions which are funded according to the budget, wouldn't we amend the budget?
So I think the FTE count, if we're changing the FTE count, I think that would make the answer obviously yes. If it's your preference that we do that, I think we certainly could do that. I think the acting, the piece that we'd actually, so the reason that I'm saying my initial response was no is from a budgetary law perspective, right? From the standpoint of complying with budgetary law. This is not something that we need to change for budgetary law. It's the regarding our charter and exactly the city manager's authority versus the mayor and council's authority. Honestly, I should just double check that before we continue to have a discussion about it. I
Yeah,
think.
I'm only asking this as a technicality.
Sure.
I've been confused over the years by different interpretations of that, and I just, after all this time, I'd like to know if that's right or if it's not right. And, did I see your hand go up, Counselor Penamara?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks. My memory about the charter, it is under the city manager's authority, but yeah, I think if the budget question, based on what you said about budgetary law, that it wouldn't come back as a budget amendment or anything like that. It's still nice to know. And I certainly appreciate the update. I'm wondering about the planner when, maybe you said and I missed it, what the timeline looks on hiring the new planner.
We haven't started the recruitment yet.
Okay.
We are working up, my plan is to give RVCOG a heads up before we put that
Okay,
announcement
so
out.
there's a natural transition there. Okay, thanks.
Yep, and just for clarity, Counselor Penamara, my comments were not about reorganization as much as they are about the budget. Yeah,
Right.
So funding positions
And I was just responding to Alex said he had to look something up and I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
don't. I know you're right.
yeah, I also know he's right. But from a budgetary standpoint, it's like there are other consequences that I think could be considered under different circumstances, and it's why I'm asking about it, and it's why I think it's important to know the answer. Counselor Collet?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I think this is a innovative move. Just talking numbers, money numbers. So one director position is going away and being taken by one person. That person's getting paid some amount more. And then on the community development side, we're going to essentially use up the savings on a planner, correct? Is there any leftover savings on the utility funds side and like ballpark? Is it 20 grand per fund or like what are
Yeah.
what are the numbers? And it doesn't have to be exact.
Yeah, I think the savings are a little bit greater in the general fund. What is 40% of the cost of Rick's position would be going away. 100% of the cost of the contract planner would be going away. And that's, I think, $20,000 or $30,000 more than we are likely to pay a new planner. There's some of that uncertainty as we are going to go out with a search for a planner 1 or planner 2. And so we can bring on the best candidate, because I think we've got the flexibility to bring somebody early career along, or if the best candidate's mid-career that we'd want to take that. And then I think I'm less confident about the savings on the public works side, because it's potential that just about all that savings gets eaten up by additional professional engineering services,
Right.
Including particularly this year, as the transition. One piece of this picture is I just gave Paula Brown, extended her contract another 6 months so she could continue providing advice and guidance to both Rick and Jeff as they're, growing into new positions. So both, yeah.
Do you have a number on that or was that in the budget?
So from a budgetary perspective, right, this is all this all fits in a pretty large bucket. But the Paula Brown contract was not to exceed 20,000.
The original one or
The new,
The extended,
for the
okay.
next 6 months.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes it clear. Thank you all.
Any other comments or questions? Counselor Perry Miller?
Thank you. Yeah, I also just was wondering about the interim nature of this change and just how that would work if it turned out that it wasn't a good fit, and then we would have an additional planner or planner 2 that we would then have as part of that department. So I don't know. It's just, I was also a little surprised about the interim nature of that combined position, but otherwise I was very excited. I thought it seemed like a great idea.
And just to be transparent, absolutely, that is the risk. I mean, I think there are ways to deal with that. If that's the situation we end up in. But yeah, that certainly is a risk.
Counselor Collet?
That's fine if you can't answer. This is not the appropriate venue for the answer, but has there been discussion with the union on this? And are they amenable or no discussion so far?
No discussion so far, but we will be broaching it shortly because we would need to add that planner 2 position to the collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you.
So this potentially puts, I think we have to, I think we have to address the issue, and I do, before I do, I just want to remind everybody that we have a section in our charter, section 23, parentheses 10, that says, except in a council meeting, no council member may directly or indirectly by suggestion or otherwise attempt to influence the manager or a candidate for the office of manager in the appointment, discipline, or removal of personnel, or in decisions regarding city property or contracts. A violator of this prohibition may be removed from office by a court of competent jurisdiction. In a council meeting, members of council may discuss with or suggest to the manager anything pertinent to city affairs. So this is the place where we can have this discussion. And it's the only place that we can have this discussion. So I'm going to push the boundaries of this discussion a little bit. I do have heartburn with the potential of in 6 months ending up with a 0.5 FTE, the TE extra that we didn't budget for. And this is kind of rooted in my original concerns about, the budget question that I brought up and our ability to fund and unfund positions. So that would be the consequence point that I was trying to bring up. I would ask the city to figure out a plan to not put us in that position as we are making very difficult choices this year around our budget. And while I want to make clear that this is in no way me having any doubt in our staff's ability to make this work beyond an interim, but I've also been around long enough to see that sometimes the interim things don't work. And I just don't, in this seat, I don't see, I don't see any real advantage in us being willing to take that risk under the circumstances. I would this would be me in the chambers trying to influence the city manager to develop a plan that does not take the risk of us ending up with a half of an FTE that we don't have in the budget. Are you willing to do that?
I'm of course happy to come back and have further discussion with you. My pause was I think the plan would what I would expect to come back with you is scenarios that if this doesn't work would not add a half an FTE to the budget.
That was your expectation? I just didn't understand that in this conversation.
Well, I've been thinking about some possibilities. Frankly, I haven't thought about all the possibilities. I mean, one of the things that has been a learning for me over the last year and a half is how much personnel transition we do face regularly. But I'm happy to come back and talk with you all about different scenarios.
I would just say to close my point, one of the things that excited me about this year's budget is that in the organizational chart, I saw a return to to an organization structure that has worked very well for the city in the past. And I appreciate very much the fact that the hiring, the job market, the amount of public works people that are out there, or the few that are out there, and in particular in planning, how difficult planning, cities across the region are saying planners are hard to find. Those kinds of things have forced us to be creative about the choices we need to make. And I don't see this as a bad plan. I want to make that clear. I feel like if we're going to be creative again, under the circumstances with some of the tough choices we've had to make in this budget process, that we put in assurances that we're not going to be facing an awkward discussion with the union, or that we're not going to end up with more budget, more FTE than needed. And I'm going to be honest when I say that I was hoping that the interim nature of it was going to be resulting in a return to the more traditional organizational chart that we have, that I've seen work so well for the city. So I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't express that. And I definitely would like to see us further discuss that path with that. Councilor Panama, if I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, maybe just because right now we're using RVCOG for this planning. I mean, why not just continue that arrangement until we see what the interim nature starts to firm up and there's more confidence that that's the way we're going to go?
That is a possibility. The challenge with that is that I'd be asking Rick to do the additional work without any additional help in planning. Right,
RVCOG couldn't step up.
well, I mean,
Okay.
I mean, it's a worthy question. That opportunity may be there. It's a worthy question, but that's what we need to figure out, is if they could dedicate more time to us than they currently are.
Yeah, I just mostly asked that question out of curiosity because, yeah, I'm confident that y'all will figure something out. And I just do feel that this is a good direction. I'm very happy to see this change suggested.
I do
I'm
too.
confident.
I want to reiterate that I actually have a lot of confidence in Rick, and I've expressed that to you directly, Rick, and I appreciate the opportunity that this could be for the city. I just want to have the safeguards in place. And so you're going to get back to us. That's what I understand. So there's probably, if there's no other questions. And I appreciate one of the things that I value about the leadership that we're under right now at City Hall is that you are solution oriented. And I really want to close with that comment. Councilor Coley?
Yeah, thanks for everything that's said. And like I mentioned before, I think this is an innovative solution and I'm excited to see how it works out. Just a question on where we're at now. So has Rick already assumed the position of Public Works Director and those duties, or is that?
Yes,
Okay.
although I'm continuing to participate.
Sure, it's an onboarding process, but
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, Rick is in that role. Okay.
All right. Thanks again for the update. We really appreciate it and allowing us to exercise our right to discuss any pertinent city affairs.
Of course. And just one thing I would clarify related to your comment about going back to where we were. I think traditionally the Public Works operated under a Public Works supervisor who was more experienced superintendent who was more experienced and had more capabilities than a Public Works supervisor. So if we had that still in place, then we could, it would be easier to go back to it if we had that in place. That would be a great place.
I I totally agree. And I hope I was heard when I said I understand that the job market is part of this, is part of the challenge. I've seen the struggles, so. And I do appreciate that we're heading in a creative solution. Okay, so getting back to the agenda. If there's no other comments on 8.2, we're going to move on to 8.3, which is to adopt resolution 2026-148-R, approving city investment policy. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Those incumbent mayors, members of the council have already had at least one discussion of this. There aren't a whole lot of options available to the city in this policy. The state is provided us a template with very few choices. I'll just clarify the purpose of what having this policy in place is. Currently, we are receiving pretty decent returns from the local government investment pool. This policy would allow us to consider other options if interest rates were to change such that we thought that we could or needed to move into something that's similarly safe and but would be a slightly higher return. We don't immediately see, based on the rates that we're getting from the LGIP right now, that's likely. But we wanted to take this step now because it is. We've been at this for 6 months just to get the policy in place to allow us to have that flexibility. But why don't I stop there and see if there are questions?
The comment that I thought it was a really well-written policy and I appreciate the opportunity it provides for the city. If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion. Councillor Harry Miller.
I move to adopt resolution 2026-148-R, approving City of Talent investment policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2026-148-R, approving City of Talent investment policy. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Coley,
Yes.
Councilor Prendergast,
Yes.
Councilor Greider,
Yes.
Councilor Martin,
Yes.
Councilor Prime Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you, Hector. Item 8.4 is to receive an update on housing planning assistance grant. Staff.
I'm going to turn this over to Rick.
Right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As we've talked about recently, the city received approximately $40,000 for development housing production assistance grant through DLCD. One of the things we need to do as we get moving in this grant, we're very early in the process. We've had some kickoff meetings with just myself and the consultants. One of the first things we need to do is set up an advisory committee, which is why we're coming to you all today. Ask if you guys would be willing to identify one of yourself as an advisory committee to the staff and the consultant in regard to the housing production assistance grant. This grant will look at the new state regulations regarding housing requirements. And this grant will also look into TA4 and TA5 as well. So those are the very high overview of the grant. There's a lot more details that were in our packet of what we'll be doing, kind of a time frame. If anybody's willing to wants to be on the advisory committee, we first meet at the end of September of this year. So with that being said, I am looking for questions, comments.
Any questions? Councilor Padomrich?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the timeline is moving forward on that, starting in September.
After that,
Yeah.
after September?
Yeah,
The 10th?
or is it just a
Yeah,
one and done meeting?
on page 56 and 57 of the packet is a schedule, and there are 3 advisory committee meetings.
Oh,
on the schedule.
thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So the next advisory committees would be January and then March of 27. That answers your question, or were you looking?
It does, yeah, no, it does, thank you.
Well, I would like to be on the advisory committee. I've been on the planning commission since 2008. I think I'll be valuable. But I would yield if another counselor wanted to do it. That's kind of like. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just I'm looking at it's going well into next year.
And the last meeting is December 2nd. Oh, wait a minute.
No, March or
Yeah, but things change.
It continues on to the second page.
So the AC is involved until March, yeah.
Yeah,
Counselor Perry Miller?
I would love it if the mayor participated with her vast planning experience, and I think that she'd be a wonderful guide through that process. And also just gratitude that this is coming to us, because I know that for some past advisory committees of this type that have been helping staff, we haven't always had the opportunity to have this level of conversation about the members. So I think this is really great.
Is this a requirement of the grant, by the way, the AC?
yes, it is one of the things that we said in the grant application that we would do. So therefore, yeah.
So the grant application
That we-
included our declaration that we would do a city appointed advisory committee.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and our grant ask, and then with when they formed the contract that we signed out of our grant ask, that was in there.
Okay. Counselor Penamara and then Counselor Coley.
sure, could the could council participation and I just want to echo the remarks that the mayor would be a fabulous asset to this. Can it be more than one person from the council or just one?
We are requesting one, but I don't know that there's anything preventing us from having two.
Thank you.
Counselor Coley?
Yeah, my question was just, what authority does this committee have? Who do they answer to? Do they abide by public meeting laws? Just the general question about who is the committee advising, and are they public body or no?
So as written, the ACE advisory committee is advising staff.
Okay.
There's only one person, 2 people that will, that are current here that will be up. That will not be up for real. Wait a minute, no, it's just you. Are you up for
Why are you
reelection?
looking at me?
Are you up for real? Council Medina and Council Perry Miller, so
No, it's,
we're sort of facing.
it's,
I'm also not up
Before
for
and-
reelection, but I'm running for a different office.
Yes,
I think we
You'll
should,
be around no matter what.
I think we should approach that
bridge when we
bridge
come
when we
to
get
it.
there. If someone else needs to be appointed to this committee,
I mean, swap someone out?
yep.
Yeah, why would we worry about that now?
Well, it might be a good learning opportunity for somebody else to join the mayor.
It sounds fun and all, but I got so much on my plate.
Was I looking at you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is a good solution. So, Mayor, Council, one of the things that we were chatting over here at the staff side of the table, we do not have a maximum limit of citizen participants on this committee. So in the event somebody was assigned as a council advisor and then was no longer the council advisor come January, we could just add another citizen seat and then ask council to assign somebody new in January. So that we could still cover council.
We were discussing the exact same thing.
Outstanding, okay.
All right, well, I really would love to be able to be a part of it and throw my hat in the ring, and I think I definitely bring some experience to it. So thank you, everybody, for your confidence in me. And thank you, staff, for working it out. All right, is there anything else that you need from this?
There was, yes, there was a second part to this, and we were also asking about the overall structure of proposed individuals that might be excellent contributors. One of the reasons being is, as you all know, I'm relatively new to the community, and I am looking for input of who else we should invite. Stephanie was called out in this staff report because she has shown interest. I'm not going to say that she said, yes, I'm joining your team. But we have had interest from the Historical Society, which is a great example of what other, not necessarily individuals, but professions, what other representation of groups, people who bike pedal, those type of representation do you think we should also include as well? We have a small list from the consultants, but I am still interested in you guys' opinion nonetheless. So,
Well, I appreciate that, and is it Tiffany Dunn or Stephanie Dunn?
You're right. It's
Tiffany.
It is Tiffany.
Yeah. I love I mean, if you're asking our opinion, I'm gonna preface it by saying that I've long held it dear that when the staff is putting together their advisory committee, it's their purview to do that. And, but if you're asking opinion, I think some of the organizational leadership in our city offer the same kind of value as a real estate agent or a developer, or they have expertise about our community that I think is relevant. And so I like that thinking. Yeah.
With that being said, I'm all ears as far as what kind of representation y'all think we should include.
Councilor Coley?
Yeah, someone from Coalición Fortaleza. Are they still managing the
They are.
the owner-owned mobile home park? Okay.
I missed the first part of that.
Coalición Fortaleza is the name of the group, and they manage. I'm blanking on the
And
name.
they're involved in housing.
Involved in housing, community advocacy. Yeah.
Anybody, Council Perino?
This is more just a comment on this document. I just really appreciate the section about identifying stakeholders and identifying people that come from diverse backgrounds and have, like Rick was saying, a diverse set of skills. I really like on page 61, number 2 says reflect the whole community, especially those most affected by housing pressures. It'd be really great if we could try to prioritize having, someone who is a renter potentially, not just people who own their own homes. I also really thought it was wonderful down here where it says other recommendations, look for problem solvers. Capacity and commitment matter. So it's better to try to identify someone who's got the time to spare for this type of work, and also someone who's people who are solution oriented, I think is a really great way to look at it. And it also does say include at least 1 or 2 elected or appointed officials in that. So anyways,
Thinking ahead.
yeah, green top. They're good at thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, it does say 1 builder or developer. I don't know that I personally have a specific thought or recommendation about that. I'm happy to see that a planning commissioner will also be participating. And then let's see, 1 to 2 members of the public. So, and then Josh. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I enjoyed reading this as well. I just want to say that when this first came up, I think we talked about it at the commission level, and you know, the map, the track that this is gonna take is it goes through the HC and then it goes through the planning commission and then it comes to the council. So public officials will all have a bite at this apple at some point. Eventually it will come before the council. Council Conamara?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the latest push about accessible housing. And I'm thinking about maybe a representative, you could talk to Age Plus, Stephanie Hooper. Maybe there's somebody local that would be good, or maybe, I don't know if some staff member would have, but
What about Liz James? I mean, that'd be she would look.
I promised her I would not volunteer her for anything today.
You didn't.
She's,
Mayor
She was from double.
She-
And she was telling us doing, let's see, we had that. Something with.
she's been instrumental. She's still doing a lot of work on the state level. She's fabulous. She's solution oriented, and she made me promise not to volunteer.
What was the initiative?
Age
SB 99.
friendly. Age friendly.
Age friendly.
Oh, the age
right.
friendly.
Age
Yeah, she started telling
Yeah.
on age
Yeah.
friendly. Anyway, that's Liz James, formerly of Jacksonville, now recently moved to Talent.
And formerly of AARP. And she.
I think
was-
she still is.
Initiated. Yeah, she actually initiated that in the city of Talent.
And make sure you say it was Darby Blood who volunteered
Yeah,
her.
make that clear.
I will make
I'll own it. In fact, I'll call her afterwards and say, "Guess what I did?" Yeah, she's actually really, she's very knowledgeable in housing. Counselor Collet?
Yeah, I would suggest to if you feel like it's necessary to, it would also explain about what the project is, but putting a blurb in the flash as far as soliciting just general community members. We've talked about people of, specific affiliation groups, but the flash and or social media to say that there's an opportunity to weigh in on a cool project.
Yeah, if you're gonna do that, laying out a schedule of when public can be heard
Yep.
on this as well. Because there's a ton of engagement opportunity with all of these meetings, and it'd be really nice if everybody knew that.
Yeah, you could say just a general public engagement post about this kind of thing. We'll have public meetings on these dates. You can show up then. If you want to be more involved,
Yeah,
join this advisory committee.
great idea. Thanks for taking our input on that, Rick.
Absolutely.
And it can take about 45 members to this committee.
Okay.
Death by committee.
Getting bigger.
Death by committee is a thing. All right, the next item on the agenda, oh, I'm sorry, Rick, are you?
Nope,
Are you
I
good?
think I have what I
Okay.
need. Thank you.
Anything else from you, Alex? On this?
No.
All right, 8.5 is the liability insurance. So if you want to walk us through this report real quick, Alex?
Absolutely. It's the annual renewal of the city's liability and property insurance. We departed from past practice in one significant way, and that is we've taken a deductible on the liability. That is the deductible would be $35,000 in aggregate. So that wouldn't be per incident or claim. It would reduce our premium by $26,000. So the maximum that we would be out or is 9,000, but we potentially save 26,000. And on the last page of the staff report, you'll see an analysis of how much we would have saved if we had been taking that approach over the last 10 years. So we have, I think, a pretty good trend to show us that that's the right choice. There aren't significant other changes from last year, but options that the city is selecting again and has in the past is excess crime coverage. We have a significant total liability cap that is almost $30 million and 10 million per incident. And we also are purchasing excess cyber liability coverage, given that that is a real risk today to cities. Our workers' comp rate has bumped a little bit. That's not due to any choices that we've made, but that is a difference. Net, our insurance costs are not going up significantly for this year.
Any like downgrading that you have any concerns about?
It's in terms of reducing coverage or, so the only place that we're reducing coverage is by taking that deductible.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Do any of the new councilors want to take a stab at the motion, which is on the second page? Councilor Martin.
I move to approve the $198,049 payment for the city's fiscal year 2026-27 property and liability insurance.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the $198,049 payment, dollar payment, for the city's fiscal year 2026-2027 property and liability insurance. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Coley,
Yes.
Counselor Penemero,
Yes.
Counselor Greider,
Yeah.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
I hope you appreciate, Councilor Martin, that I set you up to spend $200,000 on your very first meeting.
Well done.
All right. So that is the end of new business. Next item on the agenda is item number 9, commission and committee reports. Let's start with Councilor Coley and we'll work our way around the table.
This is perfect. I was just reading my notes from the Urban Forestry Committee. My only question that I have from it, which was a question for Alex, and maybe it's just a follow-up from one of the committee members with you another time, is just the remainder of the grant for that paid for the moving of the gateway trees. The other part of the grant was the reestablishment of irrigation to the Highway 99 medians and planting of those trees. And it sounded like there's maybe an opportunity to adjust if there's extra funds to spend them out. Just following up on that, if you had any information, or we can have a separate conversation about that too.
Thanks. Yeah, I reached out to Jason Clark a couple weeks ago because he helped so much with that grant, to re-engage him. And I think he was actually on my reminders today.
And he wasn't at
to
this
follow
meeting
up
too,
with
so
him.
okay.
Yeah, he was out of town, right?
Yep.
But yeah, my plan is to re-engage him and as we have an opportunity to make some adjustments to that budget.
Great. And then another thing that's come up a bit, and it sounds like from my understanding, it's at planning as part of the code revisions, is the ongoing tree code discussion. I know it's not part of this grant, but it's part of the long list of stuff that we'll get to eventually. Okay.
Yes, that is on the list.
Cool.
There is a lift and an ask from the tree committee included in that as well, so.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilor Penomero, anything?
No.
I was traveling during the planning commission meeting.
I was gonna say, you were.
So, yeah, all right, let's do it.
I was thinking of Together for Town.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that to Nicole. Yeah, I attended the planning. I didn't prepare a report. I don't know, Rick, is there anything you need to share from?
Not that I can think of, because it was more of a quasi work session
Yeah,
planning meeting and
things are moving along very nicely.
Yeah. I meant to listen to the planning commission meeting because I know that there's been discussion, a lot of discussion about code enforcement. And reporting out on code enforcement investigations has been a lot of the requests. And along the way, Commissioner Volkart asked me about what my thoughts are about staff reporting out on investigations. And my thoughts that I gave him were, given that some of the investigations have been going on for so long. And my input was that I don't object, or I don't conflict with the staff's position on not reporting out on investigations at all. But that I do think there's room for discussion as a city for a policy to be developed about timelines with code enforcement issues. I think the one that is coming up is the amount of time that I don't even know if it's Squid Auto out there anymore, but apparently it's been going on for a long time, and there's discussion about there being a type 3 application that hasn't been made, blah, 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 blah. So that as an example, my input was to make a recommendation to the city council for a code enforcement policy to be developed. And because I wasn't there, I don't know if that recommendation was ever made. My understanding was that there was just a discussion that happened, and that there was no real resolution. So I would like some update on that.
I fully expect a memo from Commissioner Volkart to be presented to the planning commission at their next meeting on that exact topic.
For the purpose of policy development.
Yes, and that memo to be sent to you all.
And then that memo, so I guess what I'm getting at is if they don't want to if they do or don't make a recommendation for a policy to be developed, I want to put it on other and talk about it at the council level. Because they're not the ones that, we don't have to have a recommendation from planning commission to talk about that. I know it's a much deeper concern of theirs because they're watching code enforcement so closely in terms of land use issues. But if they don't do that, so I just want to be clear, Volkart is writing a memo to the planning commission asking for a recommendation to come before the council for a policy to be written?
From my understanding and what I expect to happen is for him to have a memo that he's going to present to the planning commission, coming from the planning commission to you all for the exact reason that you're talking about, is to review policies for code enforcement. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So,
And that
yeah,
answers my question.
Perfect. 'Cause
Thanks.
when we left the meeting, he said, I'm coming to you all next meeting with a memo, and here's what it will likely say.
Yeah, and what I want to put on the record is, ongoing concerns about code enforcement and me not supporting, I don't support this ongoing request for reports being made out by you, as a community development director, on investigations that are open. But I do support a discussion about developing a policy about timelines, et cetera.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
And when I say do support the discussion of having. Okay, and I want to be transparent about that.
Perfect.
Thanks. Councilor Coley?
Yeah, I just had a question about something that was talked about at the planning commission meeting, because I did watch it for fun. Both of them too. I might have been doing other work at the same time. I think I was, going through my emails or something.
What speed did you watch it at?
Well,
Like 2 or?
Singular speed. On the discussion about the overlay, the Old Town overlay and its relation to Gateway, do we feel like is there concern about that as far as timeline and completing that? I don't think it's part of that Green Top project, but I know that there's.
That Green Top has told me that they will take that on.
Okay.
Because it's related, because the same requirements that are being put on development for the commercial aspects are the same design standards and whatnot. They're very similar to the housing requirements as well. So they feel comfortable taking that on.
Okay. And I'm just asking that because I would hate for there to be a slowdown on Gateway because there's some process that we haven't been able to do bureaucratically.
You have that is a very reasonable concern, absolutely
Okay.
is. Yes, it's a very reasonable concern and hopefully, that is not what we want to see happen.
Not to add stress to that. I appreciate that work is being done on it. So thank you.
I think it's important to say that that can impact any business that's
Yeah.
trying to rebuild in the
Mhm.
downtown area. You know, where so much of the historical aspect of our downtown area is gone now because of the fire, and then they're facing these rebuild standard, or they're facing historic preservation standards for rebuilds. And, so I wanted to say that it's not just a threat for Gateway, but it also burdens the
Yeah.
entire rebuild of our downtown area. So, it's a threat for all of that.
I appreciate
for
that it's
bringing
being,
that
I had one other comment or question from the planning thing. I heard the comment about scams being generated from city packets. And I actually had this experience with someone else who is a city committee member and someone else getting a phone call about, anyways, so I don't know if we want to discuss that more, but like as there are more scams out there and AI continues to, I'm assuming, just scrape every little piece of data that's out there about us. The fact that someone could call someone and pretend to be the mayor or the council, and yeah, it's concerning.
And we've even had people show up at our counter making payments for something that we never requested because of a scam. So just 2 seconds, if I may, one of the real issues with the scams in relation to planning commission, we're required to put location of what we're talking about in the meeting, so it makes it a little difficult to try to hold that information back just because, hey, we're gonna have a conditional use permit on a piece of property and we have to put out where that property is and the owner, so I'm just been asking around some other planners how we're all dealing with it at the moment, and nobody really has a great answer.
Yeah.
Just due diligence, sharing with our applicants to never reply to certain emails. All the money we ask for, you already know about. There's no surprises as far as we're not going to make a request a payment 2 days before your hearing.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay, Council Greider, do you want to, start anything from Senator Patelin?
They had an emergency preparedness workshop on Saturday, this past Saturday, but I was out of town for a funeral, so I unfortunately wasn't there. So I'm looking forward to hearing about it at the meeting next Tuesday.
Great.
We're grateful for the space. They did it at the community center and had some refreshments that they had a little money for from their budget. And we helped us purchase logistically. So thank you to staff for supporting.
And Haley, Councilor Martin, very soon I'll get in touch with you and we'll talk about liaisons to committees and commissions and what that commitment looks like. And it is voluntary and it's interest-based and all of those things. So we'll get together and chat about it and I'll fill you in and you can think about it. Yeah. Council Perry Miller?
TPAC has not met yet and they will not be meeting in July, so no updates.
Okay, great. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the look ahead. And I want to just do other real quick and then we'll go straight to the look ahead. And I want to make this fast because we have an executive session regarding Mr. Oxendine's presentation today and his desire to be a volunteer for the city. One of the things that occurs to me as he's talking about the weed situation for this year, et cetera. One, I want to remind everybody that we are the only city in this whole region that doesn't spray. So we have a weed issue every year, and that is part of it. And I think that is a discussion that we need to have again about solutions that were identified when that pest spray policy was developed. And those solutions not ever really turning out to be viable solutions, things like steaming them and burning them, and none of that stuff has ever turned out to be a viable thing. I think that's a conversation we need to have again. I'm not suggesting we start spraying. I'm suggesting that we find a viable alternative because it is costing us perception in our community that we're just a big weed field. Without reasonable solutions to get rid of them. The second thing I want to mention is that for years, we did a volunteer effort here every spring. I think Together for Talent actually led it, called Green Up and Clean Up. And that was an opportunity where community members could gather. I think they gathered out here in the parking lot, and they all had different assignments, and they went out and did all of this type of cleanup, green up and cleanup, like literally it was what it sounded like. I think if there's anything to pursue, it would on a volunteer basis, and this is in no way trying to influence the city manager on how to deal with this. How to deal with that request. I want to volunteer. But I think if there was any way that we could up our game and do similar things that our bee city does, for example, like doing weeding for bee gardens, it would be through a committee effort. And whether that was urban forestry or Together for Talent or something like that. And then and then if Mr. Oxendine wants to engage with a committee or commission on a volunteer basis and have that be planned and part of our sign-off liability forms and the whole process that we already have in place, I think that's the appropriate place for that to happen. So if anybody plans to get back to Mike about his desire to participate with the community, my hope is that what we could do is just talk about charge our liaisons to go back to the committees and say, maybe this, maybe there's an opportunity for some programs. I think Hector, you've led the Bear Creek, the Bear Creek thing for years. Those are the areas that I think we can probably discuss further as an opportunity to re-engage our community volunteers. I know it's been very impactful in the past, and Mr. Oxendine wasn't wrong. There's opportunity for us all to kind of throw our shoulder to the wheel on this. Councilor Coley?
Yeah, I like the suggestion of the committees being involved because they already do so much volunteer work. Like the Urban Forestry Committee did thousands of human hours of volunteer work and utilized some pro bono materials for that. I think I'd love to have a conversation with potential, staff and new public works employees and stuff about just how to work together on some of those things. Because sometimes those efforts, and I know the bee folks have expressed this to the city manager and to me meeting with them at one point as a liaison to them. And I know there's staff turnover and all these kind of things, like things change, but just all pushing together for the same goal, because Mike is correct that there are so many people in this community that care so much and are really passionate and will show up at a work party with a rake and will show up and clean trash and things like that. So I'd love to just have a conversation of how it can be additive and not add to workload or add to stress or anything like that. But I think we have a real opportunity with this wonderful community we have, especially when we're budgetarily stressed and, don't always have the capability or wherewithal to, do every little project. So I'd love to see that talked about more.
Councilor Panamara?
Yeah, and I am remembering when I think RVSS had sent staff to direct volunteers to clean up the bioswales. Those volunteers were the city council
Ooh,
at that time, and it was oh gosh,
Francis.
yes, it was Francis when she was working for RVSS.
She's newly retired now, so maybe she wants to. She's retired from Cass Wild. So maybe.
Here's one of the volunteers.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She needs to. Yeah.
You're not allowed to retire and yeah. So I think the beauty of that is there was a staff supervision, but RVSS supplied that staff supervision. So they may still be willing to offer up staff to come and corral volunteers and make sure bad things don't happen on cleaning up some of those things like the bioswales.
All right, I just want to say that my larger point here is that we have a system in place for volunteerism in our community, and it's through our committees and commissions, and it's regulated, it's insured, and this is really the place to hit the ground running on it. Council Collet?
Yeah, just another note on an offer to staff, whether they, you all can and use it however you see please, but less so the people power part of the volunteerism, but there's also expertise in some of these volunteers, whether they are urban forestry committee members, somebody like Mike who's a master arborist, if there are opportunities about especially the urban forest and tree consultation and things like that, or even like training opportunities for public works. There's a lot of really cool specialist tools that are hard to use and hard to obtain. And I know people that would offer trainings and opportunities to do continuing education on that kind of stuff. So yeah.
All right, so more to come on that, more to discuss, but I would start with asking Councilor Collet and Councilor Greider to go back to your committees and say this discussion is starting, and what are the ways that I think that's a good place to start. That's my point. Okay with you, Councilor Collet?
Yes, that sounds good to me.
All right, thank you very much.
I actually just had one quick
Yeah.
question. That was committee related that I forgot to ask. Urban Forestry has an opening and we have an alternate member. And maybe this is a question for Hector. What is the process of moving an alternate member to a regular member? Do they have to resign and then reapply as a regular member? Reapply with the mayor?
I would defer to the mayor's.
Yeah, it's written in the policy. I'll have to take a look at the policy. I just don't remember exactly what it is, but it's a lesser process than
So they don't have to
the
like,
original
okay,
process. Yeah.
cool. I can look into that. Thank you.
That much I do remember. Thank you, Hector. Anything else? All right, Councilor
Sorry,
Ryder?
just-
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just real quickly. I think it would be great. I think Together for Talent, we'll see what the future holds for them, I think, but it also a partnership, could be really amazing for that group, with another committee. So if we could, I think that would be really beneficial.
Maybe a joint session where you guys can talk about or outline some kind of
Yeah.
plan.
We can connect.
Mhm.
Yeah, sweet.
Okay.
That sounds amazing.
Thank you.
All right, look ahead, staff.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So I'll start with the remainder of July, and that is we do have we've canceled the July 15th, the special meeting and open house on July 22nd. Our plan, I think we have it figured out to preserve the flexibility. We will notice it as a public meeting. If we do not have quorum, as long as those members who do come are only in listening mode, then we could, you all could hear public testimony even if we don't have a quorum. But so we'll notice it as a special meeting of council. And if you have a quorum, then you can engage in more conversation with those who are here to provide testimony. On August 5th, we will have a study session, a joint city and tourist study session around Gateway and related projects. And then we've got two meaty items for that regular meeting, the land use public hearing on the Oak Valley zoning change and staff's proposal on a public safety surcharge increase. Looking a little further out, thinking about August 19th, starting the discussion early as suggested about goal setting. It looks like we covered the liaison topic tonight. And I actually had, yes, jotted down here, code enforcement approach. As I put in my weekly report, I'm sure council would benefit from having planning commission's views on the topic, and is in my mind goes quite far beyond planning commission's purview. So I guess my question is whether to you all is whether you want to have, whether you want to initiate that discussion and set some parameters and questions for the planning commission, or whether yeah, I think that's my question.
I think I'd push back about the purview thing,
Mhm.
only from the standpoint that our planning commission, I don't know if it's in the state, I'd have to look, if it's in the state rules or if it's in our ordinance, but that the planning commission has the wording is broad, and so before I say it, let me look it up and find it, but I don't object to, whatever the council, if the council wants to initiate it and ask, for planning purview. I will say that, or planning opinion, I will say that I intend to go back, to Commissioner Volkart and just reiterate our discussion tonight that, that this, this is really about, a discussion about a policy and no more than that, but yeah, honestly, yeah, if the council wants to initiate it, I think that's not a bad idea. Councilor Coley?
Just speaking for myself, I'd rather see a policy or policies first, and then if we get a recommendation from planning commission, then this body can discuss it and suggest changes, but I don't want to talk about it like 3 different times and have us talk about it, then go back to them and have it come back to us. So for sake of efficiency, I'd
My
like-
understanding is they're not gonna ask to develop a policy. I think my understanding is they were just gonna make a recommendation to council to
For us?
develop a policy.
Okay, well, we
Yeah.
could, that's why I guess that's what I'm saying. Wait for them to act and then,
Yeah. Okay, Councilor Dahmer?
Yeah, I agree. I think I was just gonna say they've given far more thought to this than I have anyway. So I think we could benefit from whatever they put together in the memorandum and recommend to us, and then we decide from that point. So agreeing with Councilor Coley. Let them initiate.
Anybody else?
I have a question about something else.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, did you get your?
Yes, yes, welcome other topics.
Just to confirm, the 22nd, this one's at 6 o'clock, but it's 5:30.
Thank you I meant to point that out. Yes, the communications to the public have been consistent that the public testimony would start at 5:30.
So you're saying at 5:30 if we have a quorum? Cause just I don't know a lot about this, on the 22nd.
Mhm.
So is it open to counselors to be there and encourage, right? At 4:30 if you can?
Yes, so, but just to be clear, I think, let me put something down in writing for you to
Invitation.
yes, and some things that are suggestions and some things that are bright lines that you should understand.
Anything else for the look ahead? All right,
From staff.
I just wanna say one more time how awesome it is to have the look ahead right on the agenda. It's really helpful and I've used it more than once. So with that, I'm going to read the script for the public hearing, if there's nothing else. I mean, for the executive session, if nothing else. All right.
Oh, I have a question, sorry.
Yeah, Councilor Perry-Miller?
So Alex, for the 22nd, I'm just trying to understand, like, what is the type of outreach, like, who is this session for? I guess is my question, the 4:30 session. Is this going to be like another one in the series, or is this going to be directed at like a specific demographic or like type of person?
Both. So yes, it's going to be a continuation of what we've been sort of the next step of the broader conversation that we've been having with the public. But there's going to be some additional outreach to an emphasis on what the non-residential public safety surcharge proposal is.
Okay.
The city council will now meet in executive session and then disperse. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations, and ORS 192.6602H to consult with counsel concerning legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Representatives of the news and media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberation during executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No final decision may be made in executive session. The confidential information discussed in executive session is not to be divulged outside the session without the express permission of the council as a body. So at the end of the executive session, we will adjourn this executive session and the council will consider no further official business until the next publicly noticed meeting. So with that, we are going into executive.
Aaron and
JMS, yes. I've got it, Hector. And, are we getting,
No. no, I can still see the meeting.
um,
I see Aaron.
We're in a breakout room.
We're-
So you're in the breakout room.
yeah,
Okay,
when you should be still in the meeting, right, Hector?
I'm joining it.